Mr. Walker, sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good. Thank you so much for calling in, and thank you for participating in the program called Political Incorrect today. Tell me,
You're welcome.
Tell me, what is the atmosphere? How somber it is in your part of the world because of this horrific and I guess there are no words to explain this tragedy.
Well, yesterday was clearly a very difficult day, not only for the Sikh community here in southeastern Wisconsin, but for many other people who are of different faiths, be they Muslims, Catholics, Protestants, Jews, and so on. There was a large community gathering yesterday, Friday, in a high school gymnasium in Oak Creek, which is the city where the gunman took down 6 members of the Sikh faith community. And it was a very powerful service. Probably the highlight was a speech given by United States Attorney General Eric Holder, who spoke to the crowd to tell them that the country stood behind this particular faith community, as well as all Sikhs in the United States.
And were you the first person to break this story for the Centennial Journal there in Wisconsin, or?
No, I was not. When there is a shooting or a news event of this magnitude, normally what happens is a newspaper or a television station will assign many reporters to the story, so I was just one small part of it. The first news about the shooting Sunday morning actually came via Twitter, the microblogging service, and it was there that it was first reported that shots had been fired at the temple. And once that news began to spread, we began to deploy reporters and photographers and videographers to the scene, as well as other parts of the region.
Now, this Wade Michael Page, not a very well-known person, many affiliation with the supremacist skinheads group, and I guess he was a rock star for many different bands. I think it's Apathy End or something like that. So this guy, any information on his background?
Well, we have been spending an extensive amount of time looking into his background. We know that he grew up in the Denver area, and his mother died quite early in his life, so his father remarried. But as far as we can tell, he had an uneventful high school career. He joined the Army in 1992 and served in 2 different bases, most notably at Fort Bragg in North Carolina, where that was precisely the time that there was a strong white power and white supremacist sort of movement going on in the base, and we have reason to believe that he was exposed to that lifestyle and that kind of philosophy. After he got out of the Army in 1998, he ultimately gravitated towards Southern California, which at the time had a very strong white supremacist neo-Nazi community. He lived among those people and I think really began to gravitate toward expressing hate toward all manners of ethnic groups, including Muslims, Jews, and African Americans. At that time, he was moving from job to job. He had committed some small crimes, nothing serious, but it's safe to say that he didn't necessarily come up on the radar too much among groups that monitor this kind of group activity.
All the searches that I made and kind of looked into it, I was not able to find his educational standards. I mean, were you able to find that? What was his intellectual level as far as an educated person?
Well, that's an interesting question. We don't believe that he attended any kind of technical school or college after his high school graduation. But one sort of interesting clue is that he did serve while in the Army in the Psychological Operations Unit, and that does require an above-average intelligence to get into the unit. And he did serve in that capacity. I can't tell you how long he served, but that would provide some clues that he was either at or above average intelligence.
Now, the Army discharge, it says something about a less than honorable discharge. And honorable discharge is, I guess, with salutes and a lot of different stuff. Less than honorable discharge means that he was into something that really was inconsistent with the Army standards, and they let him go, but probably did not focus on the real word honorable, I guess.
We believe that's correct, and he was given what was known as a general discharge, which is different than a dishonorable discharge. We have reason to believe that he was given that kind of discharge because he did have a alcohol problem. He was asked to leave the service, but was given some consideration for his alcoholism by giving him a general discharge. My understanding is that allows him to continue to receive some benefits post-service. Whether he took advantage of that, we don't know, but he was in fact drummed out of the Army, but was not given a dishonorable discharge.
So primarily then it boils down to he was a high school dropout, he was an alcoholic, he was, probably a single mother child, mother died earlier, at, early age in his life, a neo-Nazi, a white supremacist, an uneducated guy with really no knowledge. So would it be, I guess, appropriate to say that the Sikh temple was a mistaken identity by this guy? Maybe he was looking for a Muslim target, and he just couldn't differentiate that.
Yes, I would say I want to impress upon you that there would be, this is speculation. However, we have talked to researchers who have studied the actions of gunmen like Mr. Page, and we have found that the research indicates that people who are bent on violence do tend to strike out in areas located close to their residence. In this case, not only the Sikh temple, but at an Islamic center was within just a few miles of his home. Whether or not he was able to differentiate between those two faiths, I can't tell you, but the researchers tell us that the reason they pick these targets so close to home is because when they pass them to and from work or to and from someplace they're going, it grates on them and bothers them to see these people gathering as a community either in worship or for other community activities. But as far as whether he had chosen the Sikh temple by mistake, that would only be speculation.
Now, is there a provision somewhere in the law that these families who, or these persons that died in that massacre can sue this Mr. Page or his family for this atrocity?
I suppose that option does